we would have come to realize that many things in life, many things in this world, though seemingly small and unimportant, can and often cause big or great things to happen. If we look at them by themselves and of themselves, it would seem to us they can be of no use or ever affect life in any significant way. Jesus affirms in St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 13, verses 31 to 33, the passage for today, that small things can have a great effect on much that happens. This is the message of the parable of the mustard seed and the yeast or leaven. Yeast or leaven was mixed with flour to cause it to rise in much the same way as it is used today. I'm sure that those who cook and bake and do other things with yeast or leaven could very well identify with what Jesus was saying here. The yeast or leaven is small compared with the amount of flour that it is mixed with. But it has the potential within its tiny proportions to do great things. Its presence has big effects. That which seems to be invisible mysteriously and inevitably perform its leavening work. Things change as a result over time. The yeast or leaven, in a manner of speaking, changing the texture of the flour, is indicative of God's transforming work in our lives in this world. Just as small amounts of leaven has the power to affect a large quantity of flour, so it is with us, with the kingdom of God. We who live on the Christ root may seem to be unimportant and powerless, unable to make a difference in this world. But by Christ's power, we will make a huge difference. And often, we think that some people have no value. We consider them small and unimportant. But the world cannot exist without each of us contributing to what is happening. In the parable of the leaven, therefore, we should hear Jesus encouraging us to become involved in the world, not to simply hide from it and watch things go from bad to worse. There are many of us who would claim to be Christians, and we look at the world and we say things are so bad within the world. But what are we doing to change it? What are we doing to have a positive effect so that what seems to be so bad and getting worse could change for the better? Because we who profess to be Christians and followers of Jesus Christ and children of God are doing what we are called to do so that those things can change. There's some of us who we don't mix with certain people because they're evil and wicked. They're bad. They're sinners. We don't mix. How do we change if we stay by ourselves? The understanding is that the leaven will only work. It will only do what it is supposed to do when it is mixed into a large quantity of dough. If this is not the case, it is useless. Hence, those of us who will serve Christ must go into the world. We go into the world to make disciples. We go into the world to baptize. We go into the world to teach. And we find reference to this is in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 28, verses 19 and 20. We must remember, however, that we are not to allow the world to change us. Rather, we are to positively influence what happens in the world. And to do this, you have to be really grounded in the faith. And some people don't attempt to do anything because they figure that it's too much for them. And yes, by ourselves it is. And others just see it and leave it and figure, well, it will work itself out. But unless we do something, unless we go in and attempt to change, nothing will ever change at all. We are to be in the world, but not of the world. So, the leaven is in the flour, but the leaven doesn't become flour. And the flour does not influence the yeast. The leaven maintains its character and it changes the whole makeup of the flour that we are dealing with. That is how it's supposed to be with us as Christians, God's people in this world. A lot of us are afraid to even touch certain issues for fear that we might fall for what it is. We are to be in the world, but not of the world. And Jesus recognized, even in his day, that that was a challenge. And so in one of his prayers, recorded in St. John's Gospel, chapter 17, verses 15 and 16, as he began to prepare his disciples for his leaving, he prayed. And he prayed for them. And as part of that prayer, he prayed, I am not asking you to take them out of the world, but I ask you to protect them from the evil one. They do not belong to the world, just as I do not belong to the world. So Jesus covers us with his presence. He gives us his power to go into the world, to do the things that we ought to do. There was an advertisement slogan some time ago, I don't know if it's still here, that says, you've got to be in it to win it. This had to do with, I think it was the lotto. But what they say, you can't win the money if you don't play. The same thing with us Christians. We can't convert the world to God if we stay out of the world. You have to be in it to win it. In other words, situations are very rarely changed. If all we are prepared to do is to opt out and stay out, one thing should obtain whatever we choose to do, however, and that is our motive should be pure and lead others to the right direction. This direction is with God. So while some of us would want to opt out and some are hesitating to go in, we need to decide what we're going to do. But let it not be something that we will ourselves necessarily benefit from, but for the benefit of those we are called to serve. The parable of the leaven can be twinned with the parable of the mustard seed. And we realize that both of them have this message of starting with what is seemingly small, insignificant, and useless to eventually rise to a significant size and influence. The mustard seed could be deceptive if we are not careful. One could be fooled or to underrate what it can grow to become because of its size. It is that small and easily seen when it is sown. I want us to think of anyone, any situation we might have been in, where we just simply felt that because of who it was and because of the circumstance, nothing good is going to become. Nothing positive, no growth, no anything. And that is what will happen when we simply look at the mere size of the mustard seed. But yet, when it's planted, it grows and it expands to become a big tree. It flourishes. It is now large in contrast with its small beginning. Its hospitable environment becomes a home or resting place for birds. My brothers and sisters, if we think that what we have to offer is small, simply sow it. And we will come to realize that over time, God is going to help that to grow. And it will flourish. And we won't be able to recognize it for what it has become, given how it started. And if we can convince others to accept the message of the gospel, then they will come into God's kingdom and find their home in His presence. The kingdom of God will become for us what that tree became for the birds, where they could make their nest and live. This is a message of hope, especially when it seems as if nothing is happening as expected. As Christians, we are called to live knowing and hoping that God will bring great things out of small stars. We should, however, not count the greatness of the kingdom of heaven as the world sees greatness. These two parables should also encourage us as Christians to continue to exercise faith and patience, especially in this age of instant expectation. We know if we have been working for God that You don't win some situations easily. Some people take years to make up their mind. It may take a very difficult situation for some people to change. Our job is to sow the seed. Our job is to be the leaven in the flour and leave the rest to God. We must have patience. But I want to say to all of us that those who hear the word must decide how soonest they will respond positively to that word. So it won't become the fault of anyone else if at the end of the day they find themselves locked out of the kingdom of God. In many cases, we may only see very little evidence of progress. Not too much of what we expect should be happening. But in God's hands, these small beginnings have the potential to grow so large as to shift the world on its axis, to witness and to cause great and lasting change. As we continue to work for God in this world, being the mustard seed or the yeast, let us hold to the hope that no matter how small we start, there is a promise of a great outcome. Let us be encouraged, as Jesus encouraged his hearers, that even as we face tasks that seem daunting, with the odds seemingly stacked against us, we must continue to work for God. If the mission seems overwhelming and our resources too few, we must remember that with God, all things are possible. The truth is sometimes we would like to do a lot of things at the church, at the community, but we don't have the resources to do it. And often we have to leave it to God to supply the resources we need to get what we need done. Even when no one seems to notice or is aware of what you and I are doing to promote the gospel message and to lead others to a commitment to God, we must still be encouraged and hold on to the hope that someday great and wonderful things will happen with God's help. Let us remember that God's kingdom will grow from small beginnings to a significant size. And like these, the message of the gospel of Jesus will pervade the lives of many, transforming theirs and ours.